Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CoinNewsExtra Interview Session. It's a program where we invite innovators, influencers, and stakeholders in the blockchain, fintech, and crypto ecosystem to come talk about what they are doing, the state of the ecosystem, and matters arising. So today, I have with me a great innovator in the ecosystem. I have with me Alexander Lubin, who is the executive director of Five Island Capital. Alexander, you are welcome to CoinNewsExtra.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to the interview.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, how is the UK today?
The UK is raining, it's grey, and it's the UK. Pretty much saying we're no longer part of Europe anymore. So far, 2021 isn't as great as we were hoping it was going to be.
Yeah, we pray it will be great indeed. So we'll be looking at blockchain as a core component of financial infrastructure of the future. So knowing very well that you have a good background around that. So a bit before we proceed to that topic, could you just give us a brief about yourself and your background?
So 20 years I've been in the payment space, and I started out, in fact, out in the city of London, the heart of London, in investment banking and brokerage. Then moved into corporate finance and found myself in and amongst the hustle and bustle of the payment space back in about 2003 or so. And from there, started work heavily on marketing prepaid debit cards and built a company up with a bunch of other guys. And we became a global issuing and acquiring processor for Visa and MasterCard. And then we stemmed into mobile payments technology and other payment systems technology. And surprisingly at the time, we thought mobile payments would be huge actually in Europe. And of course it has taken off and it's become central to the core offerings of lots of platforms today. But Africa, where we weren't actually looking at the time, it took off in terms of mobile payments, which you've seen now. And it's a huge part of the sort of day-to-day transaction processing environment. So studied that very closely, and then beyond that, carried on working in the life of enterprise solutions and payment processing, and then slowly moved my way to the front of house to get into, retail applications, and focus on a number of different challenges and areas in retail finance. And about 5 years ago, we heard all of this noise about Bitcoin, which we really took a shine to in terms of how it works, and identified the potential of this capability and how it can be deployed in a financial institution environment that's regulated, robust, and how it can build efficiencies from a front to back perspective. So since then, we were looking at how to customize and deploy solutions and find the right tech people to build offerings that can then be deployed in a regulated environment, which is where we are today. And so that's sort of in a nutshell who I am, where I've come from. But as like you, I share a passion for blockchain and believe it's definitely the future.
Indeed, it is going to be the future. So we'll be looking at seeing what blockchain is doing with crypto. What role can blockchain play in the financial sector?
Well, there's a number of applications. So we are, in fact, deploying a retail product just now at the moment in Europe, and then soon to be the Middle East. And this retail product essentially democratizes access to capital markets and investments for your man on the street who has a small amount of money that wants to access alternative saving and investment products. And essentially what we can do with that and deploy that blockchain is to issue financial instruments and create ecosystems that utilizing the blockchain that enable people to purchase affordable economic exposure to investment products, which were otherwise inaccessible due to their high cost and price. So we are using the blockchain and tokenization to tokenize assets of any type, but in the first instance, we are simply focused in capital markets because they are more simple products. And we effectively digitize these products and then break them down into affordable component parts that either you or me or anyone else can purchase for as little as $1. And the benefit, of course, to that is that it allows the masses to be financially included, and they can purchase and save and invest in products and services that they otherwise were inaccessible, and it allows us to service a big problem and a big need in the retail market. And that's just one way that we're utilizing it without giving away too much information just now, as the product is very soon to be launched. But we also use it for a number of other applications on the platform as well. So for faster payments, for example, it's perfect. It's a perfect solution for removing the friction, which is normally inherent in the traditional legacy financial infrastructure. So it allows people to move value from one person to the other instantly. And obviously that drives a lot of clearing and settlement systems as well, which takes away a lot of the cost to service in traditional legacy infrastructure. And there's a number of other applications as well where we can use this and deploy this, such as trade finance, for example, digital identity verification. We're using blockchain for KYC, so that we don't have to re-KYC people along the way. We can simply create tokenized KYC standards along the way that can be shared with other institutions. So you remove a lot of the KYC friction as well. And beyond that, accounting and auditing on the back end. So it creates a lot of efficiencies from a reconciliation perspective. So we use the blockchain as the single point of truth, if you will, which provides and feeds into all the other systems on the back end. And that enables us to very efficiently and in real time reconcile and understand what the position is of a business without the need for huge, onerous back office reconciliation systems, if you will. So if you want to ask me any other questions on that, if that makes sense, please go ahead. But that's the sort of way that we're deploying it at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, I was able to access some information online, and I saw where you wrote blockchain as a core component of financial infrastructure of the future. What do you mean by that?
Well, we believe that it's got I mean, at the moment, it's in its infancy, right? So, you know, it's still yet to be tested and proven by and adopted in the mainstream. And we took a big risk by going out to invest in a tech platform and create a platform and an infrastructure and get it approved by the regulators, so that we could actually set it as a standard so that it complies with European regulatory requirements. But I think there's going to be a big shift. If you think about the banking infrastructure, it's the difference between, I guess in layman's terms, you know, we're all using an email today. It's instant, or we're using Messenger and everything else. If I were to knock on your doorstep and say, I've got this great concept, here's this fantastic fax machine, right? And you know, you can send faxes to each other. All you've got to do is plug it in. You've got to buy paper and buy ink cartridges, and then, you know, as long as you're next to one, you can send a message to someone else anywhere in the world, as long as they have a fax machine. You know, that's an analogy for you, but that's the difference between the archaic legacy infrastructure that financial institutions have in play versus a much more digital age where you can remove a lot of that legacy infrastructure. If you think about banks and institutions, we refer to it as spaghetti junction, right? I mean, they're all operating on systems that were built at core in the 60s, right? And since then, all they've done is add more clunky pieces on top and on top and on top, and it's just created this huge pile of spaghetti, if you will. And so it's a very, very expensive animal to maintain. And banks are looking at fintech about how they can digitally innovate, not only to provide better service and better products to their customers, but to also strip out a lot of that legacy infrastructure that's archaic and extremely expensive to maintain. And so I think it'll very much become the core component of the financial institution and sector as it evolves, as it becomes adopted. That's what we hope. Sorry?
Nice to hear that from you. You know, we're talking about the blockchain sector and the finance sector. You are executive director of Five Island Capital. So how is Five Island Capital leveraging blockchain in providing solutions?
Okay, so I'll give you a taste of what we're doing with one of our retail products that we're going to be launching. So we have sought regulatory approval in Europe that enables us to issue financial instruments, okay? So a financial instrument is classified as, let's say, a share. Let's say, for example, an Apple share. Now, that or an Amazon share that costs $2,500, for example. What we can do now, your average man on the street can't actually afford to buy that share, but he wants to save and invest. Is the connection still there?
Yes, proceed.
He
Continue.
wants to be able to save and invest, right? And why shouldn't that guy be able to participate in the capital markets? So how do we leverage the blockchain there? Well, what we do is we provide an ecosystem which is fully powered by the blockchain. And we tokenize all the underlying securities over here, which are unaffordable for most people. And then we tokenize those the same way that a Bitcoin is a token, but its value is derived through supply and demand and an algorithm. We then issue a financial instrument on the blockchain whose value is pegged to the price of an Amazon share. But that financial instrument can be purchased for however much the customer wants to purchase. So, for example, I only want to buy $10 worth of Amazon, or I want to buy $50 worth of Amazon. I can buy it. And I now own a financial instrument, and I now own an investment in the economic exposure to Amazon. What have I done now? I've provided a safe, secure environment where customers can now purchase economic exposure to securities, and I've removed all the pain and the friction that's normally involved with purchasing that underlying security. So I've now enabled and provided a platform that everyone can be included in and everyone can participate in. But then beyond that, what can I then do with these lovely little tokens that exist in this ecosystem? Because they're digital, I'm not now restricted in terms of how I can exit certain positions or whether or not I can swap one position for another position. And so you get all of these digital benefits that come with it through the ecosystem. So I can take a Facebook share and I can swap it for an Amazon stock instantly through my mobile phone. And if I don't have any cash on my account, I can walk up to the Starbucks counter and I can simply swipe my card over the POS terminal and pay for a cup of coffee with an Amazon share. And we do that all through this digital ecosystem, which allows us from an infrastructure perspective to enable customers to enter or exit positions and create authorizations over payment networks. So that's the sort of, I'm trying to summarize that in a very, very sort of simple way so that the viewers or the audience can understand without getting into too much technical jargon. But so that's just one example of how we can deploy it. And the customers, by the way, don't even know that the blockchain exists in that product. It's just there. It just provides the service. And so that's one example of how it can be done. And of course, from a business perspective, what does it cost to process those transactions in that digital ecosystem? Well, it's nothing. It's the cost of electricity. So your spaghetti junction I referred to earlier, which employs lots of different systems and lots of different people to manage, is now removed. So you now have a very, very scalable, very robust, immutable ecosystem that provides a number of benefits to both the business and the customer. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. It has really been an amazing time out with you on CoinNewsExtra interview session with Alexander Lubin, who is the Executive Director of Five Island Capital. But before we draw the curtain on today's episode of CoinNewsExtra interview, I would like to get your closing remark.
Well, my closing remarks. I guess, we will be moving into, from our perspective, very, very exciting year ahead. We think that there's going to be huge leaps and gains and evolution in the world of blockchain technology. Both you and I share the same vision there. I hope you look out for us, and we will keep you posted on our launch over in Europe and the Middle East and what our ambitions are in Africa as well. And we hope to be down in Africa at some point in probably 2022/23, providing our blockchain solutions in the African market, and namely Nigeria. So that's that will be our first step into the market. So we look forward very much into coming to you very soon, I guess. That would be my closing statement.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcoming you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.